Okay. Uh, Hello everyone. I have an update on Diddy today. Wait a minute, hold on. Nah, never mind. With that being said, let's get into it. Diddy update. And
Finally tried the Elite and aluminum face mask from Iris Store, and honestly, they work with the Iris Store Elite.
by the way, this update is from Nick at Night. Shout out to her. Shout out to her. This Diddy update is courtesy of Nick at Night. Please check her out. Thank you. Go ahead, Nick.
Child, and y'all know outside it be a bunch of chaos, child, all the time.
Well, that's how she starts out with people getting into it. You're starting this thing out with people getting into it, Nick. Lord have mercy.
Child, it's a lot going on. I'm gonna move around. I'm gonna move around.
Yeah, you
We
better
are
move around.
outside of the Diddy trial. Brendan Paul already testified, and he gave his accounts of what it was like being a personal assistant to Diddy. I don't know what they got going on. They got a lot going on. They got a lot going on. I gotta move around, child. Yeah. I
Way
gotta
too
get
much
in
going on.
position. Get in position.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna give you guys all of the details of the testimony right after some of the people come out. But as you can see, it's a circus outside. It's like an everyday reality show on the outside. And court just let out. So the family should be coming out. His mother and sons came a lot later than everybody else. So I believe it was Christian, uh, I think Justin, the mom, family, and so much more. So we're gonna get into all of the details right after they come out. Now y'all know we gotta do our fit check, fit check, fit check, fit check. Okay. Okay, y'all. Make sure y'all hit the like button as y'all come on in. Make sure you guys are supporting the channel and sharing the video as well. Hopefully you guys can hear me clear through all of the chaos because they got a whole lot of
Well,
going on.
hold on. What was he saying? Ah, crap. I didn't change the orientation on my eyes. My bad. It was supposed to be horizontal, but I guess it's vertical. Oh shoot! It was supposed to be. I'm using the phone on my eyes, unfortunately, and it was supposed to be like a little landscape thing, but it's straight up and down, and I didn't know about it until I hit the live button. My bad on my eyes. Hello everyone. Hello. Uh, Let me get back to what Nick was talking about with this Diddy update.
A lot of going on, and it's crazy. So
And I apologize for being sideways. Yeah. So next time from now on, I'll be sure to check the orientation before I hit the live button. My bad on my eyes. Let me get back into this real quick.
Right after all of this, then I'm gonna give you guys the details. I'm gonna pull out my notepad and I'm gonna tell y'all the goings on that's going
Yeah, and
on.
that's all.
Right?
All we want is
So
all we want is what happened in the courtroom. Damn, Nick is short.
yes, okay, okay, okay. I'm glad y'all hear me loud and clear, loud, live, and in effect. But yeah, it's chaos out here, man. It's literally chaos. Chaotic. Hey, boo, how you doing? Hey, y'all. Let me suck the stomach in, make sure it ain't, you know. You know how we gotta pop out, pop out.
Yeah, speed is. I want to skip through some of this. Here we go.
Traditional loose fitting shirts can be sloppy and cheap. They don't fit right and they're not very versatile. That's when I found True Classic.
Speed this up. There we go. I gotta give me a microphone too, cause sometimes this audio is good, and sometimes the audio is a great piece of crap. Which that was my fault for not getting the audio right. But once I get the microphone,
All right, that's
it's
just some
we're
of
gonna be
the
good.
chatter around the courthouse of what people think about the case. What do you guys think as far as the case goes? Do you think that he is officially done? Or do you think that he will walk? Now, there is mixed reviews as far as
Here's my belief. I believe they got him on the whole prostitution, but everything else, I'm gonna say it's a mistrial on everything else. But the thing with the prostitution, he's looking at like 8 to 10 years on the prostitution thing. So if they find him guilty of that, he is gonna do time for that. Now, if they can prove a RICO case on, he's gonna get life in prison. Ooh. Yo, let me fix this real quick. I ain't know the sun was that bad. Okay, there we go. A little bit better.
what people think will happen. As for me, I really don't know. I feel like for sure everything is clear with Cassie. After Cassie, everything else is a blur.
Here's my viewpoint on the stuff with Cassie. Now, was Cassie a DV victim? Yes. Was she an SA victim? I I'm a little when it comes to the SA, but she was indeed a DV victim. But here's the thing: DV isn't on the books, so therefore the DV thing is irrelevant in a court of law. Unfortunately, back to Neat.
Everything else is a blur. So I really don't know. Okay. Somebody else got me in their camera. Yeah, so what do y'all think? With the charges that he has, with the evidence that they have shown, we are to the last of the witnesses. The defense starts their case next week.
Okay, here's what I think about the RICO. They did, in my opinion, prove the RICO case, but in my opinion, I think that a RICO case is weak as hell. Just saying. Ooh.
What do you think his fate will be? Now he's facing life for these charges, from the trafficking to the coercion to all of the RICO and all of the things. For the things today, they were going in detail onto like the receipts, the financials, flight records, hotel records, damage that was done to the hotels, which
And again, I
person was
apologize for being
flown in,
sideways.
and how much they were paid for the service that they were providing, and things like that. So it was a lot of things that was covered. And on this street, it is always an ambulance, always some type of fire truck happening down this street. Okay? It's
Well, Neek, welcome to New York.
a whole lot of going on. Let me move around
That's
because
that's NYC for you.
that's real loud. So let me move over. Let me move over here. So you think that they overcharged him, and you don't think that it is Rico? Ooh, shoot. My phone is calling. What charges do you think he should have had if he didn't get the right one?
They should add the DV charge, but they didn't add it.
Hold on, y'all. This just fell off.
Wait a minute, what was you saying, Harmonize? The entire case. I somewhat agree with you, Harmonize, on some things, and some things I'm still 50-50 on. Now, we all can agree that the domestic violence should have been attached, but it wasn't. Now, the sexual, as you know, the sexual stuff with Cassie, there was proof of it, but as we all know, with the tapes and everything that's that we done heard already, she was a participant. She really wasn't. She really was no victim. Now, I'm not saying that she was never a victim, because we all saw the video where Diddy sat there, grabbed her by her hair. The only thing I see Cassie being a victim of is domestic violence and nothing else. And the alleged Jane, which we all know who she is. I don't know why she wanted to be anonymous, considering that anybody can figure out who the woman is. But anyways, with that, she wants to sit there trying to claim that she was a victim like Cassie. How are you going to sit there and say you're a victim like Cassie, and in the text messages, in the text thread that was read, all you wanted to do was please Diddy, please Diddy, please Diddy. Well, so you could quote unquote become the main chick. If Diddy wanted you to be the main chick, he would have made you the main chick. The only reason that Diddy used you was to get back at your baby daddy. That's it, and that's all. With that being said, let's get back to what Neek is reporting on. Hopefully, y'all can hear this loud and clear. Let me know if y'all
Okay,
can hear
that's
this.
good.
I can't wait till that mic gets here too.
All right, I had to get back set up so that we can talk. But
Okay, she got good
Reese
audio.
says, I think people really don't know what RICO is, because if you do, you wouldn't be saying wrong charges. Right. I feel like a lot of people don't really know the definition, don't really know what it entails, don't really know all of that. So it's always interesting to get everyone's point of view on what they feel is a part of RICO and if they've proven the case or not. So I'm gonna go over my notes in a sec, but like I said, we're waiting for some of this to clear out. Some of the
Okay, I see what you're saying about the freak off stuff now on eyes. And to be honest, if the defense really wants to push, they can actually have the freak off stuff thrown out if they want to do it that way. But the thing is, I don't think they they gonna do that. Get it thrown out. But if there was a domestic violence thing attached, the domestic violence will be a slam dunk. Now with the prostitution thing, they do have a case on a prostitution. Now the whole, um, the whole trafficking charge, I'm still a little, on that. Hold on, come on. Oh, damn it! What the hell? Here we go.
for some of this to clear out, some of the people that come out. Let me see who's coming out now.
I'm doing too much pausing.
What's up? What's up? What's there to do this weekend? Like, what should I be doing this weekend? I don't really know. Y'all let me know. Let me see if everybody done skedaddle.
Look at you. You're doing everything you can to get your blood pressure in check,
And
and now you have super beats
come
that were
on.
chosen by human.
I'm over here moving around, trying to stay in that good light. Wait, which way is the good light? Which way is the good light? Right. Shopping? I know that's right. No, the film still hasn't come out yet. Yes, it's
Okay.
over today. It was a short
I'm
day.
gonna try to speed this up a little bit. Okay, here we go.
It's a lot going on. It's a whole lot of y'all wish I was out here or what?
And hold on. Still speed this up a little bit more.
he, he was the one that got
There we
arrested.
go.
Now, he was able to get his charges dropped. And when he got his charges dropped, they then in turn gave him immunity to testify in this
Okay, she
trial.
talking about
So
the drug
I
mule.
thought that he was going to have a whole lot to say because he was allegedly supposed to be the drug mule. He was the one that was supposed to be transporting for him. And he said, listen, I only fooled around with it a couple of times. I only, set up the FOs a couple of times. He wasn't really into it that much. We're going to have Terry over here. Terry is amazing. She is definitely here every day covering the trial. And she is Terry Austin. And she has been giving amazing commentary every day. She is an attorney. And she breaks down the case like no other. So, Terry, what did you think about the um, testimony today? But before you do that, where can the people find you? Because trust me, you
Terry Austin, you'll find it.
All right, so quick question. A lot of people I see on social media, they're like, where is Rico? I haven't seen Rico. Can you explain to them what
Yeah, that's why
qualifies
I want to
as
know
Rico in this case?
what
Okay,
defines
so there are
Rico.
three main charges against Sean Combs. There's the RICO, there's the sex trafficking, and there is the transportation to engage in prostitution, which, in my humble opinion, they have established. The RICO is a little harder. They have to show, prosecution that is, that there is a criminal enterprise and that individuals, two or more, conspire to commit criminal acts. Now, the prosecution is naming all of these personal assistants, they're naming the security guards, they're naming KK, Christina Quorum, but they really, so far, have not established this conspiracy or that it was an enterprise. Yes, it's an enterprise, but it's an enterprise so far that we've seen that makes millions of dollars, that has Sean John as far as clothing, Bad Boy Records, and several other entities, but they haven't established that these enterprises are criminal or are committing criminal acts or that there are two or more individuals conspiring to commit criminal acts. And that's why
Okay.
people say that they haven't as yet established that RICO charge.
Okay, when you first heard of the case and some of the people that they had involved, did you think that it was mainly based off of Cassie, or did you think that it was going to be this
It
one
was totally based off of
group that
Cassie.
combined
What
together?
else we
That's an
talking about?
excellent question. I think everybody, including myself, we were thinking that there's going to be all of these other people involved, that they made decisions, that they were behind these closed doors. And what we're seeing so far from even the prosecution witnesses is that what went on behind closed doors really was a personal matter. Even Brendan Paul, who testified today, he was a personal assistant. He said what he considered that Sean Combs' personal time, and that what he did behind those closed doors was because he needed time to get away and to relax. Now, I think as far as Cassie Ventura is concerned, there's no question that March 5th, 2016 tape is very bad for the defense. And I do think
Yeah,
that
you ain't
we
gonna
could
deny that.
establish sex trafficking as it relates to Cassie. Because for sex trafficking, you have to have fraud, force, or coercion. And clearly that was during a hotel night. And so he was forcing her to get back. And so I do think they have established that as far as she's concerned. The question is, have they established the other predicate acts for the RICO? You know, was there arson?
Um,
There's a lot of
I'll
doubt
be
there.
right back.
Was
I
there
gotta
forced labor?
cut the light on.
What happens when your motivation leads to innovation? You get a wellness routine that
RICO? You know, was there arson? Well, there's a lot of doubt there. Was there forced labor? Maybe, but they were working hard. I mean, you heard on cross-examination today when Brian Steele cross-examined Brendan Hall. He said, look, he was what, 23 years old? This was considered the job
Off
of a
of a
lifetime.
lifetime, yeah.
And so he did it willingly and frankly, so did Sean Combs. He was working hard too, and the end result was the loan album. So I think the defense is chipping away a bit at these claims.
Okay,
And,
I'm back.
you know, while there's terrible things that might have gone on behind those closed doors, wasn't
What the hell is this
designed
dusty
was
looking?
a RICO. Sex
Okay,
trafficking.
maybe it's just a light.
Established that they there were a lot of escorts that they established. They transported them to different places where they went. So I do think they have that. But those two larger I don't think it's actually quite.
Right. And so, another question. So I oftentimes hear people compare the exchange for the escort and the reverse. And they feel as though, well, normally when a person is being trafficked, they're going to get a job and they're bringing the money back to the John. In this case, Diddy is technically the John, and he's paying them in the reverse. So what do you say to the people who feel as though it's not criminal in the sense of like a pimp when, because it's like the reverse transaction?
Yes, you don't have to have a
People, paying for sexual favors is illegal. It is what it is.
pay the money per se. It really is, are you, you know, forcing these individuals to have sex?
Of course.
they were trying to establish on the direct case, on the prosecution's case, that Sean Combs promised her, the leave card, and she didn't get it. And so I think the way she came across to many people that I've spoken to, and this is the way I saw it as well, that she was in it for the benefit, and
Of
she may
course.
have felt that
She was there for the money, of course.
but the question is, did he force her to? She could have walked out at any point in time, which is what the defense is establishing in that cross-examination.
Now, here's why I got to pause it. This woman said you could have left at any time. Now, here's the thing with Cassie. Cassie said out of her own mouth that she did leave 3 different times. 3 times she left. However, for some strange reason, she came back. To some people, it would be a strange reason on why she came back. But the reason why Cassie came back because Cassie, she wanted the benefits of being with Diddy. The same way Young Miami was with Diddy was for the benefits. Let's get back into this.
Not to say she wasn't involved, of course.
Dang.
Now, she did
Mm.
say that there was some, yes, yes, and so was that fraudulent, and, he did continue, he still came direct up until now, apparently, and so, I think that that's going to be hard to show that she was defrauded. You're right.
Right. I mean, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. I mean, how many times are you gonna keep on getting me in the same situation where you say it's gonna be me and you, and then somebody comes out swinging, and it's like, yeah, let's get done, let's get Paul, let's have a good time. It's like, are you really that naive that you don't understand this is the game? And are you playing, or is this y'all game that y'all play? Oh, I just want time with you. They had a lot of role play going on. And I was surprised that the defense didn't bring that up because I'm like, well, all of the stuff they have with her down to
Mm.
outfit, you're gonna act like this, act like that. And it seems like something that could have even been a role play for me.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely think that there was some role play going on. But the real question is, was he consenting? That is the bottom line. And so it does appear, based on the evidence, the emails, it's in writing, that it was consensual. Now, this is what we saw. This is our opinion. It really boils down to what is that jury going to say? Right.
Excuse me.
And that's the $1 million question. And the $1 million question is, what will the verdict be? So make sure you guys go follow Terry. She is amazing. Y'all see how she broke that down just like that? Tell them one more time where to find.
All right, you can just, I think, just go Terry Austin. I'm a little older, so I don't know how you do these things, but I think it's just hash. I mean, it's the
At Terry.
yeah, no, you did. At Terry D Austin, but if you just put Terry Austin in your name or something,
And where can they find your videos? Because that's your Instagram. So where can they find
that's
your videos?
that's my YouTube channel too.
Oh, okay. So she's on YouTube, on Instagram. Make sure if you want down and on Twitter, if you want down to the letter the facts from a legal standpoint that is the being raw and real, you still need to follow her.
And I just started my TikTok, so I have to show up first. So follow me.
Yeah, follow her on all platforms. There we go. All right, bye. That is Terry Austin, you guys. She is amazing, and she is the coolest outside of just doing commentary. Like her as a person, she is so sweet, so kind. She checks on everybody. So
3 reasons why life flows the voting and finance stack, especially for teams that manage multiple entities.
everybody. So it's always good to check in on good people because outside of her giving the facts, she's an overall good person. So I really appreciate her so much. Now let's get into what was going on today. Now, like I told you guys, I was expecting a lot from Brendan just because they make it a whole spectacle. It's the last person. He was supposed to be the fuel that was transporting and doing all of the things and the things. And like I said, it just personal go-to. Now, in court today, they showed a lot of communications between Diddy, KK, him, and a guy by the name of Fahim, and they would have these transactions, and they would have these code words for illegal things, like if they were trying to purchase some Mary Jane, they would call it flour. Or if they were trying to purchase, the hard stuff, that's really gonna get you smacked, they would label that as Gucci bag. So they would definitely have these different code words, and they were showing us the inner workings of how they would schedule the food off, how they would notate it in their phone, what was required to bring to the freak offs, and so much more. So I had got in a little bit late, and when I got into the courtroom, he was basically talking about who his plug was. So there was somebody by the name of Baby Girl that he would go to secure the party favors for Diddy. Now, he said that he would get them and he would put them in Puff's Gucci pouch. They showed a picture of the Gucci pouch, and they wanted to know, okay, so when are the people, what are the assistants handling the Gucci pouch? He said that whenever Diddy needed the pouch is when they would be handling it. Now, they also wanted to know if he was picking up any prescriptions for Diddy and what name, if he was, that the prescriptions were under. Now, each of the assistants basically testified to going to the drugstore, somebody writing a script, them picking up prescriptions, and he had the same type of where he would get a script, he would go to the drugstore, and he would pick up, certain prescriptions under Diddy's name or under his alias name. And I think he said even one other time he picked it up outside of using Diddy's name. Now, they wanted to know whenever he was going to purchase any type of party favors, where would he get the cash from? And how would he pay for it? And he said that he would pay for all of the party favors and party enhancements, and he would get the money from a guy by the name of Fahim, and he would get the money from security personnel as well. Now, he said that he had been paying for some of these illegal party favors out of his own money, and he would have to then get reimbursed for what he put out there. So they wanted to know, okay, so how much,
Okay,
was the
so that's
cash
how
were
Diddy
you
was
kind of
doing it.
accumulating? And he said that it was $4,200 alone in total that he had paid for Mary Jane, and they had that as the code word, like I said, of flour. Now, he also said that KK was like the go-to between this and things like that. Then they wanted to know, was there ever a time that Diddy witnessed him take any type of party favor? Was there ever a time that you was under the influence of the okey doke? And he said there was one time they was at Coachella and they were in the bathroom, and Diddy basically wanted to see like how good it was. Like, was this the good stuff or was this the weak stuff? Okay, and I guess they were trying out a party favor by the name of Tusi. Now, I ain't never heard of no Tusi. See, all of these type of party favors is above my knowledge, but according to the word on the curb, this Tusi is supposed to be like ketamine mixed with MDMA or something like that. And then they wanted to know, like, well, how did you feel when you took it? And he said he didn't really take a whole lot.
So basically, he was on speed. That's what it sound like. He was on speed.
He just wanted to, take a little bit, see what it would do. And he said that the feeling that he got was kind of euphoric, and he didn't really do enough to get like the full effect of it. But he just basically was trying to take it, just take it, see if it was good or not. And he seemed like it did enough, and that's what it was. So
Harnessing the great potential that mushrooms possess. First one I want to share with you is Lion's Man. It's one of the most popular tinctures.
and he seemed like get enough, and that's what it was. So that's what they talked about. Now, in addition to that, then they wanted to talk about the freak offs. Now, by the time that he was employed by Diddy, they had basically changed the name of freak offs to Wild King Nights. So what they wanted to know was, how did he set up these Wild King Nights for Diddy? And they wanted to know what type of things were going on in these Wild King Nights. He said to his understanding, it was partying, alcohol, some hanky-panky going on, and some mood enhancer drugs happening as well. They said, did he know who Jane was? Now, if you guys remember, Jane testified last week. There was a lot of talk about Jane on the blog, and there was a lot of uproar because somebody was, throwing shade at her and things like that. But they wanted to know who Jane was to his knowledge in association with Diddy, and he said that Jane was one of Diddy's girlfriends, and he said that she would be a person that participated in the Wild King Night, aka freak offs, with Diddy. Now, they wanted to know, where did these Wild King Nights take place? Now, it was T because he started to switch up his profile after Cassie's lawsuit. So before Cassie's lawsuit, they were doing them in the hotel, but after Cassie's lawsuit, the block was too hot. It was already too many damages going on to the hotel and things like that. So they basically relocated escapades to their personal residence. So they then basically went and started doing these king nights at his house and also at her house. And they would have the assistants go over there and set it up and make sure they was able to have a wild good time. And they wanted to know basically what he would bring so that he can set the mood. Now, he said some of his duties included bringing some party lights. They have to have the mood lights set. He would bring candles. He would bring the Gucci pack. He said he would bring, what else did he say he brought? Hold on one second. Hold on. Let me see oh, so they wanted to know what all he would bring. He said that he would bring extra towels, baby oil, lights, Astroglide, and they wanted to know how many times was he in charge of setting it up. Now, somebody in the chat said Gucci pack question mark. Well, Gucci pack, for those who are wondering, is it's like a small purse, a Gucci purse looking sack bag, where they would have all of the illegal party favors in there, and whenever he was about to turn up and do his thing, they would provide him with the illegal party favors from the Gucci bag. So that's what I mean by the Gucci bag, because that's where they had the party favors. But anyways, they wanted to know how many times was he in charge of setting up the hotel night or cleaning it up. Now, Diddy was getting charged a lot of money for doing damage to these hotel rooms. So what he would do was he would start to try to put in preventative measures to set it up by putting a whole bunch of sheets and towels over all of the furniture, all of the couches, because he was getting baby oil on everything, damaging everything with baby oil. One of the hotel said, listen, we done came up into this room and it looked like a towel was soaked in baby oil. It's ruined. The stuff is ruined. So what they would do would put layers and layers of sheets, layers of towels onto the furniture, and they would have this endless supply of baby oil to try to get whatever steam they was trying to create. And he said he was in charge of doing that 3 or 4 times. He would set it up, and then when it was done, he would then have to go clean it all up because he wanted to prevent as much damage as possible. So they also wanted to know if he ever off for Jane, where they were going to celebrate her birthday, and they were putting all the staff on alert that it was about to be a turn up with Jane. He put on notice that this whole King Night, aka Freak Off, was going to go from February
Freak ass nigga here, 6'9" God. Freak ass nigga here, 6'9" God.
8th, all
Y'all, I'm sorry. I couldn't help but to do it. I'm sorry.
the way up until February 9th. They was going to get rolling, rolling, rolling from the day to the night to the next day. All right? And then, so they wanted to know. They wanted to know how he detailed his schedule, who was in charge of putting together the schedule, and he was basically saying KK, all right, was the one who they would coordinate the schedule with so that they can, do these freak offs, all right? So were they taking place that he recalls. And like I said, he said after the Cassie lawsuit, they stopped doing it in hotels. But before the Cassie lawsuit, he said that they would be at hotels in LA and Miami. They wanted him to basically list which hotels that it was going on at. He said the El Hermitage, the London, and he named a hotel in Miami. Then, like I said, it converted, thank you for the super chat, it converted to freak offs, aka Wild King Nights, at their personal residence. So one day he was setting up a King Night so that Jane can get it on with their person that they was bringing in along with Diddy. And he had text messages basically telling KK, who is Diddy's right-hand woman, that Diddy, he's about to get his King Night going, and he said Petey is active now, and he's headed to Walmart. So he was like, Diddy finna get active, all right? I'm finna get out of here. I'm finna go to Walmart. KK wanted to know, how active is Diddy? She said, like, Wild King mode active or Gucci bag active? Gucci bag active. Now, Wild King active mean that he gonna be, shebanging his wanky. Jane get banged by a triple decker pecker. So they wanted to know, is he in active mode of whacking the willy and watching her and looking at her do her thing, or is he getting turned up on the party favor? So she wanted to know from what scale of active is he? Is he active on the Wild King side, or is he Gucci bag active, getting turned up? All right. So Paul, he replied and he said, he's in between the two. He basically said, he's somewhere in between the two or whatever. And then they wanted to know where it took place. He said that it took place at Jane's house. And basically they wanted to know who was in charge of keeping the supplies in stock, because they had mountains and mountains of baby oil. So they wanted to know who was in charge to make sure they always had baby oil on deck, Astroglide on deck. And in addition to how he had a supply at his house of baby oil and it all in the cabinet, they showed us a picture today of Jane's house. Now in her house, she had a cabinet from ceiling to the floor, basically stocked up with Astroglide and baby oil as well.
Damn,
so he had a supply
okay.
at his house, he had a supply at her house.
Okay. Was not expecting that. Let's continue.
And it was a supply of baby oil everywhere. Okay, she had a whole cabinet full of baby oil, just like he did, like I said, at his house. So it's a lot going on with the baby oil. And he said the property manager would be the one that would make sure the items stayed in stock. And they wanted to know, like, was there ever a time that you had to pay for the items out of your own money, certain supplies for the King Knife, he said that Diddy would basically either FaceTime him or give him a voice chat to let him know it's active.
Effective, healthy blood pressure support takes more than innovation. It takes vision. A human.
It's active. We need this, that, this, that, this, that. And he would have to run and get it. They wanted to know what was his procedure and what was his protocol after Diddy's shaboink session. So after he was done whacking his wanky and seeing her get smashed with the triple decker special, what did he then have to come in and turn and do? Now, they said that when all the action was done, he had to go put on some gloves, okay? Because he said it was too much fluids around there. Now, he didn't say too much fluids, but he said, child, for sanitary reasons, I had to supply myself with some gloves first. That's number one.
Yeah,
You gotta
better
get the
get
gloves on, okay?
hazmat
So
suit
once he
too.
got his gloves on, he could get to business. So when he got to business, cleaning up that room, he would get up the towels and the sheets, and he would put them like in a nice pile, and he would clean up the best that he could so that Diddy would not get charged with damage. Okay? They said you have to put on gloves. Why you have to put on gloves? He said, "Child, you ain't gonna catch me slipping." No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, they did ask him like why did he need gloves? He said, "Child, he needed that for sanitary reasons." All right, so they wanted to know, was there ever a time that he saw a white powdery substance when he was cleaning up? And then he said, yeah, there was one time that he saw a powdery substance. And then they showed a picture of what the hotel night would look like. So whenever he would get done and he would set up the hotel night, he took a picture to basically show Diddy, like, I got you, like, look, and it was a picture of all of the furniture covered in sheets and towels, and everything was white sheets and towels. The bed had white sheets on it, the couches, the chairs, and everything was covered in white sheets and towels, and he took a picture, sent it to Diddy to let him know, we ready for that action, or you ready for that action. It's action ready, all right? So they showed that photo to show, how he showed Diddy that he did his job, he got everything prepped and ready, all right? So they asked him again what the supplies would he bring, and he said that he would bring lights, candles, incense, baby oil, astroglide, liquor, champagne. They wanted to know what was in the Gucci pouch. They started to ask him the same questions over and over, and he said that, it was the illegal party enhancements in the Gucci pouch. And then they wanted to know, like, whenever he was handling an illegal party favor transaction, how much money would he be spending on these illegal party favors? And he said he would spend between $100 to $500. He said, listen, these people over here talking about I'm some drug mule. I'm over here handling the small stuff, like, so he also denied being a drug mule when it was time for Brian Steele to cross-examine him. Now, my battery is going dead, so I'm going to pull out this mic. I don't know if it will go mute once I take the mic out, but I want to get through the rest of it, and I don't want the the live to cut off. So we're going to lose the mic because we got to make sure that we got battery. So hold on one second. I got a couple more pages to tell y'all. I don't know if it's going to make up the audio, but we got to get it. Okay, got my battery ready. All right, so let's put it back out. Hopefully, it don't mess us up and it just reverts to the regular mic. Okay, because, baby, we got to keep it going, keep it flowing. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you, Nick.
Okay, we good. All right, let me turn this mic off. All right, working like a champ. I know that's right. All right, so let's get through the rest. All right, so where was I at? Okay. All right. So then they wanted to get into when was the last time he worked for Diddy. Now this part was some tea because, child, they was like, okay, so when was the last time that you were working for? You said it sounds better. They said, when was the last time that you stopped working for Diddy? And he said the last date that he was working for Diddy was March 25th, 2024. So they wanted to know where was he heading to. And he said that him, KK, and Diddy were headed to the Bahamas. And when they were leaving the Miami airport and they were going to the Bahamas, they said that was the day that he got arrested with the cocaine and the other narcotics. Now, once he went to the police station,
Hey guys, German to break down the mobile creative.
now, once he went to the police station, he said that he didn't drop the dime on Diddy, and he did not tell the police that the narcotics belonged to Diddy. Okay? And then they wanted to know, well, when you got jammed up, why didn't you tell the police that the illegal party enhancers that you was caught with belonged to Diddy? And he said that he didn't say anything because of loyalty. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Y'all real disrespectful on the likes. I really don't like that. Okay, I'm giving y'all the inside scoop and breaking it down right here, loud, live, and in color.
Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Please and thank you. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe.
It's free. Don't do me like that. And make sure you share and tell a friend because I'm going to be here next week as well, giving y'all the scoop as the defense starts their case. So don't play, don't play, don't play, okay? Do not play. Now, let's continue. Oh, let's see. Can we pin the cash out? I don't know. Let me see if I can. Hold on. I don't even think I can type nothing. But if one of the moderators can do it, that would be great. Let me see if I can pin it. All right. Okay. So then they wanted to know. All right. So why didn't he tell about the narcotics and the party enhancers? He said because it was
I'll be
out of
back in a minute,
loyalty.
y'all.
And then they wanted to know what happened with his charges. And this is where he got a little bit cocky, okay? Because at first he was just answering the questions and he was just basically, he was answering the questions and he was basically like, yeah, this happened, and you know, he was kind of real dry with his answers, not really giving up too much. But then they wanted to ask him, why did his charges for having the illegal party enhancers get dropped? And he gonna say with his little cocky tail self, he gonna say, because I got a really good lawyer and he was able to get my charges dropped. And I'm like, okay, don't get too cocky now, sir, because you yep,
Right.
yep, 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 yep. But him basically saying, yep, 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 because he was filling his head up with accolades. And that's what I wrote. I'm like, Charles Brian over here filling this man's head up with accolades. We trying to get to the nitty and gritty of it all. Was he the mule or not? Okay? Was he the mule or no? You over here buttering him up. Oh, you're a hard worker. Oh, you got into Syracuse. Oh, you're a really good basketball player. Oh, you had a this and this and that. I don't care what's the action.
Does your garage floor need a makeover? At Granite Garage Floors, our professionally installed systems focus on preparation.
I don't care what's the action. Okay, is he lying for the prosecution? Do he got dirt on him? Do he got people in the basement? Was he doing stuff that we need to know about? Like, what's he? You over here buttering him up? We ain't got time for that. Get to the stuff. So anyway, so he was buttering him up for a while, child. He was buttering him up for a while. So then, talking about his academics, dollars, this, that, this, that. And then he started working for him at 23 years old, and he was making $75,000 a year. And he said that he worked 80 to 100 hours a week. And then this is where Brian Hill gets into the stuff. And he said, do you remember his question about drugs? And do you remember when they were, referring to you as a drug mule? And he was like, you don't consider yourself a drug mule, do you? He was like, no. And then Brian still was like, fair to say that this was just Diddy's personal use and you weren't out here, kingpinning it. Now I'm giving my own little summary, but that's kind of what it was giving. Like, you ain't no kingpin, are you? He didn't say those words, but that's kind of what it was
Mm.
giving. And then he was like, no. And so then they wanted to know, what's your understanding of a drug mule? Okay, like these people call you a drug mule. What do you understand it to be? And he says, to him, a mule is somebody who traffics kilos around the world, and that what he was doing was mere petty little $100, $200 transactions. He wasn't doing nothing nearly as big as no Scarface. He wasn't bringing in kilos. Don't know what y'all thought. And then so Brian still was like, it's fair to say that you wasn't a mule, and this was only for Diddy's personal use. And he was like, yes, that's fair to say. So then he said, when was when did you witness Diddy doing party enhancers? And he said the only time that he physically witnessed Diddy doing these party enhancers was the time that he said he tried it one time. They was trying it 2C. They were in the bathroom of Coachella. And so they were like, did you see him do violence to people? You didn't see him be violent, right? And you didn't see him do these party enhancers either. So he was like, no, I didn't see him do party enhancers only the one time. And no, I didn't see him be violent with people, like that. So then they were saying, they started asking him about James. They were like, so you set up these wild king nights, aka freak offs with James, and when you set them up, did she look like she wasn't happy to be there? Okay? Did she look like she wasn't satisfied from tooting that thing up and tooting it back and getting hit with the triple decker special? Now he didn't say that, but y'all get my drift. He was basically saying, was Miss Ho in distress or not? Or was she happy to be there? And he basically was like, and there was a lot of objections going on at this time. There was like objection. Every time he would try to ask a question about James, it would be objection. And Brian still kept trying to get it out. Was Big Ho in distress or not? Now, he didn't call her no hoe, but, was Big Ho in distress or not? Was she crying? Was she whimpering? Was she acting like she didn't want to be there? Was she acting satisfied? What was the given? All right? And so he said, to his knowledge, Jane looked like she was chilling. She didn't look like she was in distress. She didn't look like she wasn't happy to be there. And she didn't look like she was affected at all because it looked like she was enjoying herself with him. So they said, it was like, did she ever look like she wasn't a willing participant? said, and unwilling. He said, absolutely not. She didn't look like she was having a bad time at all. All right, now I'm adding a little flair to it, but y'all get my drift. So then, um, when the prosecution was talking to him, they were basically telling him like, well, do you think this is an enterprise? And he said that KK, and Diddy like ran the enterprise. So then Brian had to come back and be like, so when you were telling the prosecution that this was the enterprise, you don't mean like an illegal enterprise. You just mean like this is just an enterprise where they're working to get stuff done, but not like an illegal operation, right? He was like, yeah, no, I didn't think that it was an illegal operation. Did you? He said, so when you were handling these king knights, did you think that there was anything illegal or criminal happening? Would you work for a criminal? He was like, no, no, I didn't think nothing criminal was happening, and no, I wouldn't work for a criminal. They like, so Brian still was like, right, like you wouldn't be working, like you're so smart of a guy that was at Syracuse, you wouldn't work for a criminal. He was like, no. And then Brian still started buttering him up again, and he said, you care about your reputation and your family and like what your family thinks. And then he said, that's what's most important to me. So then Brian still was like, the amount that you got caught with was point 0.7 grams. He said, that's personal use at best. Okay? He said, child, they over here trying to act like you just really just hit with pounds. You had a little smidge of point 0.7 grams that you was caught with. Ain't that correct? He said, yes. And then they said, oh, and then he said, who told you to bring the party enhancers on the plane? He said, did nobody tell him to bring the party enhancers on the plane? Then they said, did Diddy tell you to bring those illegal party enhancers on the plane? He said, no. Did KK tell you to bring those illegal party enhancers on the plane? He said, no. And then he said, so you just basically accidentally brought them, right? He was like, yeah. He was like, you didn't know that it was in your bag. You forgot that it was in your bag. And then he was like, yeah, like I didn't mean to bring it. Nobody told me to bring it. Like that. So then, he started buttering him up again. And then he said, in 2023, you started working on the Love album. And you were so lucky that you were working so hard that you were able to be a part of the album. And then he was like, what album was it? He said, the Love album. And he said that you're a hard worker and everybody else around you was a hard worker too. He was like, yeah, we all work hard. Like all of us were hard workers. Even Diddy was working hard. I was working hard. Everybody was working hard. So he was saying everybody's working hard. Like, because they tried to put out there like, he's working, he's being outworked, he's working 80 to 100 hours a week. And basically Brian still was getting him to say, all of y'all was working the same hours. Like, it wasn't like you were working more than others. Y'all all was working hard. All right? So, then, he said, then he said, so how is Diddy when he's off these party enhancers or whatever? Like, what type of vibe did he get? And he said that when Diddy was off these party enhancers, that he would be a lot more creative. And Brian still was like, right, he wasn't violent. You didn't see him hurt nobody. And the guy was like, no, no, I didn't see him hurt nobody. He wasn't violent. He was just creative. And he got even more creative and really into his craft when he did these purse fingers. And then he said, as of today, looking back after everything you've done, do you think that you're indebted to Diddy? And then he was kind of like, huh? Like, what you mean indebted? Like, what that mean? What you mean do I think I'm indebted to him? I don't know what you're talking about. because you don't want to self-incriminate yourself. So basically,
Exactly.
before he testified, he had to invoke the Fifth Amendment, meaning that he is not going to tell the truth or incriminate himself, and therefore he needs immunity to make sure he's protected. Now, when Brian Steele was cross-examining him, he was like, "You're a truthful guy. You tell the truth all the time." He was like, "Yeah." He said, "Even without immunity, you were going to tell the truth anyway." And he said, "Yes." So I'm like, what's tea with that? Because the whole thing about immunity is they give it to you because they want to give you protection to tell the truth and not, incriminate yourself. And Brian Steele was like, even without immunity, you were going to tell the truth, right? He said, "Of course." All right. So then after that, they went on a sidebar, and they were on sidebar for a while. And then it was time for the prosecution to come and recross. So when the prosecutor got up, she said, "Do you remember Steele asked you, did you thought anything criminal was happening?" And then he said, they were like, "So what did you think was going on in the hotel night?" Okay, because, Brian still got him to say nothing was criminal, he didn't think nothing was illegal, this, that. So the prosecution was like, "Do you remember saying that you didn't think nothing criminal was happening?" Now, all while she's asking these questions, Brian still was objecting like crazy. So he said there was sex happening. And so the prosecutor was basically like, how would, like, in so many words, she was like, how would you know what was going on in there, whether it was criminal or not? Like, were you there? Were you there? Were you there? He was like, no. She said, when you gave the money and you provided him with the big lump of cash in preparation for his Wild King night, what did you think the money was for? Why did you think he needed that $5,000?
Dang it.
He said, oh, it was an objection. So then they went to, you set up the supplies for King nights, right? Um, and then they said, they asked him about what he did to supply it. So then they asked him again, while the King night was going on and Diddy needed something, who would he reach out to? And he said that they would reach out to the assistant. And then after he was done cleaning up the hotel room, he said that he would leave his own personal money to give the hotel workers a tip. And he would take that out of his own pockets to give the workers a tip for cleaning up the hotel room. And then they said, why did you think he needed $5,000 for a king night? So she circled back to that again, and they said, objection was the same. All right, bye. And then they said, was there any other time that you provided him with similar amounts of cash in any other context? And he said, I don't remember. So they wanted to know, well, how many times did you purchase the illegal party enhancement? And he said less than 10, but more than 5 times he purchased illegal party enhancers for Diddy. And then she did a mic drop at the end because Brian still was trying to act like, oh, this was nothing criminal. This was just personal use. This wasn't a big deal. This wasn't, something like that. Oh, so then he was like, why did you stop working for Diddy again? Because again, mind you, he was saying that he stopped, there was nothing criminal going on. There was nothing that. So the prosecution said, can you remind the jury on how your employment ended with Mr. Combs? He said, stop stuff. And she said, how did your employment end with Mr. Combs? I was arrested. And then she said, how do you feel about Combs? And he said, it's complicated. So then the next witness was a guy by the name of Joseph Sicilio. He is a special agent with Homeland Security. He has been working with Homeland Security for 18 and a half years. He was assigned to the JTTF in 2010, and his job is to investigate, acts of terror and things like that. But they hired him in this case just to go over charts and text messages and make sure that the text messages that they have in evidence match the charts that they are submitting to the jury. All right? So then they wanted to know what type of records were you asked to review? And he said he was asked to review bank records, text messages, flight records, financial records, and each set of records was in the thousands. So he had to look over thousands of financial records, thousands of text messages, thousands of, flight records, and so on. So he had to make sure that the charts that they compiled of all of the evidence was complete and accurate. All right? So then basically they started to go over the flights. So they went over Jane, her flight, and like when she was flying from LA to here to there to there, they went over the flight records. Like they would go over her flight records, and then they would go over whichever escort was basically transported into town. Then they would go over their flight records. So it would be her flight records, Diddy flight records, then the escort flight records, and then after they showed their flight records, then they would show the hotel records, what name the hotel was booked under, was there any damages, how much were the damages, and they did that like on a sequence of a lot. Then they started showing text messages that Cassie was sending to Diddy when she got fed up. She was like, I'm tired of you dragging me by my hair. I'm tired of you treating me like a hooker. You over here always want to treat me like a hooker and get these hookers when you got a hooker at home. Basically like, you could get your ish off with me, but you want to fly in hookers and use me for that. I'm tired of that. So it showed a text exchange of him and Cassie going back and forth. And he basically told Cassie, he said, I done waxed my wanky for 10 hours straight, and I still can't get my fluids up out of here. And you over here playing games with an attitude, and I'm trying to get this fluid up out of me, and I've been whacking the willy for 10 hours, and you want to come to me with this selfish stuff with your little attitude, and you want to talk about how I done put, and she said, you done hit me upside the head 2 times, you done dragged me by my hair. I'm sick of this. I'm tired of you putting your hands on me. And she said all that, and he like, girl, I ain't trying to hear all that. I'm trying to get this fluid up out of this wank. And you're not helping with that right now. And you're selfish because you're not considering this situation that I have. And how dare you come to me about getting bopped upside the head when it's been 10 hours of whacking and ain't no fluid came out. You think I care about you talking about your head and got bopped upside and dragged and all that, and I'm in this peculiar situation that ain't come to an end? Girl, by with all that. So that's basically the messages that they were showing, like, get about here with all that whining and either get to business or get to step. Are you done? Are you done? Are you actually leaving me, or are you cool? You gonna get to this action, or are you just gonna cry about it? What are we doing? Because it's been 10 hours of whacking and ain't no satisfaction. So, they were showing all of those messages going back and forth, and she's like, I've been here for 10 years. I've been a hooker for 10 years, and all of this stuff like that. So they were showing all of those, all of the financial records, all of the hotels that was booked, all of the damage to the hotels, all of the text messages of Cassie saying she was fed up of getting beat up. was a payment to this escort. So they were showing a flight, how much was paid for the flight, and how much was paid to the escort website, and where the location was. So as it pertains to him flying in people and trafficking and paying for all of that, they had all of the correspondence of that where they were basically showing this is a flight, this is how much the flight was, this is how much the deposit was made to the escort website, and then they were naming which escort was getting paid and flew in and who the payment was for and things like that. So, then they were showing more damages and more text messages, and that was pretty much today. Alright? Alright. That was pretty much the day. I got tired of jotting down 1,000 damages for this hotel, $800 for this hotel. I got tired of jotting down. Just know it was a lot of damage, a lot of freak off, a lot of baby oil, a lot of flying out, a lot of this, a lot of that, a lot of this, a lot of that. But make sure y'all hit the like button. I'm out here in New York. Giving y'all
We're done, y'all.
the scoop.
Good night.
Okay?